Hi everyone, or me. I'll just give you what I've got today. Now, I think it was a day or two ago, 2 days maybe, that the Bank of Canada raised their interest rates by 0.25% to 0.5. They point out it's the first time they've done it since the pandemic, and they mention Ukraine as one of the reasons why it's occurring. Anyway, I'm bringing it to your attention today because I saw an article today just sort of linking it to what the implications are for ordinary people, and that says that the CBC, which I don't know, it's a bank, and the TD, which is a bank as well, have increased their prime interest rate by 25 basis points, which will affect variable mortgages. It's something just to know, because I think what's happening there is likely to happen elsewhere unless we manage to prevent it. I came across the information that Katie Meyer, who was the captain of the Stanford women's soccer team, was found dead at 22. Now, there's no cause of death given. Obviously, there's speculation. The only thing that I can give you on top of that is, you may know anyway, but she had just launched her own talk show, and I think she'd already done an interview with her dad, and the title of the talk show was Be the Mentality, which is a great title, and presumably it's a take on Gandhi's be the change you want to see in the world, maybe be the mentality that you want to see in the world, or something along those lines. Anyway, it's a fairly sort of positive, upbeat kind of title, and one, if she's launched her channel, then anyway, I leave it with you. It's very, very sad. The Daily Mail today is reporting on how cloth masks. Now, I want to pull this up. I should have done that earlier, but it's quite an important article, so it's worth actually telling you some of the details of it. If you just give me 2 seconds, I'm on it. I know where it is. It's just in here. So there it is there, and I'll pull it up and then I can speak to you about it. So they've run with an article. It's their online site, and basically it says that cloth masks barely filter anything, any particles. 90% of particles go through them, and they are near useless, basically their words, for the prevention of COVID spread. Now, I want to comment on the fact that information was available to people 2 years ago. There were copious numbers of randomized controlled studies, I know because I actually looked into this, that said that masks, they weren't actually biased in any way, because the studies weren't looking to have anything to do with coronavirus. They were pre-coronavirus, and they were to do with whether or not people in certain care settings and hospital settings should wear masks in order to limit the transmission of viruses. And the outcome was always of randomized controlled studies, which are the gold standard of research, that they either did nothing or they actually made things worse. Now, people tried to share that information at the beginning. I know I did. But I find it really upsetting that the mainstream media have now hooked on to this. Yeah, they could have reported it 2 years ago. They have quite happily watched people, be diminished by the requirement to cover their faces. And they have quite happily allowed for, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, toddlers to, yes, sweetheart, I'm doing a video. Can it be 5 minutes? Thank you. You're a superstar. Toddlers have been unable to develop speech at the same speed that toddlers used to, because they can't see people's faces. Of course, it's an obvious problem. But also, people have just suffered from not being able to see each other's faces. It's an important part of what it is to be human and to communicate. And it makes me so angry that, that any mainstream media outlet would bother, reporting this now. All I feel that it is going to do is heighten tension between people who have worn them and people who haven't. Not me particularly. I completely understand the pressure that people were under to comply. I was under it too. So I'm not judging anybody, and I don't want to use this as an opportunity to say to people, well, we told you so. They were being told other things, and they were trying to make the best call that they could with the information that they were given, and they were, going for the source that they had, really grown up to believe was a good source. So I think the mainstream media is throwing this out there so that people will be polarized. And I read an article by Candice Fickle, who's an Australian lady, really, really smart, by the way, and super knowledgeable, well worth finding on Facebook. And she basically kind of unpicked the fact that at the moment the World Health Organization, as I'm sure you all probably know, has got, 194 member states are going to sign off on a legally binding sort of pandemic response, global pandemic response. And she thinks that the reason that this is happening, that some mainstream media outlets are now belittling sort of things which they allowed to go on and encouraged to go on, throwing people under the bus and so on and so forth, is because the governments want people to sort of say, oh, well, our own government were unreliable and inconsistent in what they got us to do, and in fact they got us to do some things that we didn't need to do, so it would be so much better if we had a global pandemic response, yeah? Except it won't be so much better, because that means that the WHO can impose any kind of mandate, and we're all bound by it. And that is really, really, really a problem. Should be a problem for everybody. Yeah, much bigger problem than whether people have been wearing masks or not laterally. Anyway, I'm going to finish off because I've got one more thing to show you or draw your attention to. I'm just going to read it to you because it's better coming from him than me. So this is Mike Yeadon, and this is one of his Getter posts today. And he says that there's a document here. I draw your attention in this agreement between Moderna, Fauci's NIAID, and Ralph Barrick of the University of North Carolina. This agreement precedes the COVID event and involves an mRNA vaccine candidate against an unspecified coronavirus. Any other detail related to which particular coronavirus is redacted. A few short years later, Moderna manufactures at speed, unprecedented in this field, 1 billion doses of acclaimed mRNA vaccine against the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. Furthermore, Dr. Fauci of NIAID is instrumental in building the fraudulent case for mass administration of such an alleged vaccine. Of course, it may all be extraordinary coincidence he ends up with, and best wishes, Mike. Anyway, that post's obviously really, really interesting. It's on the link for it, documentcloud.org. I'll stick it on my blog, okay? Most sensible thing to do, www.conversation.wordpress.com. But you could also go and find him on Getter. Get a Getter account. It's not censored. It's not madly right-wing. I don't strike you as really right-wing, do I? It really isn't. You can pick and choose, obviously, like anything else, who you listen to and what you listen to. I heard, I think it was Mark Dolan the other day saying as well that it is important to listen to people who have opposing views from you. In fact, his case was that it was, fundamentally important that you should do it, not just that it would be okay to do it. Because it broadens your mind and it makes you converse and it makes you understand other people's reality better, and you don't end up in an echo chamber of people who just support your own views, which we've all been driven to. We've been driven to. And we have to break the mould, and Getter is a reasonable place to start trying to do it in a social media forum. Anyway, that's it from me. There is a post by Robert Malone which I could, bring to your attention, but I feel like I've taken enough of your time. So what I would do again is I would go to Getter and I would look up Robert Malone and I would find the post that I am talking about, okay? Thank you so much for listening if you're there, and I love you. Bye.